prayer for? You can be specific. Is there anything I can pray for you for? And the more you get to know the person, the more you know what their issues are. So this time is important. Don't sort of just go, well, I'm just here to teach. No, because a good teacher cares about the people that they teach.
And also a time to ask them, like with the first one, what they want.
Yeah.
What they're looking for.
Yeah, correct.
Then we got to take down the notes to support that. And it's an introduction.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the first study for somebody who knows absolutely nothing.
Yes, exactly.
To me, it's an introduction.
Yeah. So you don't want to go too heavy too soon and then it be too much. So remember, this is a guide. You adapt it to the way that you work. But I always try to start off with a story, just like I said with preaching, because we connect to story, to the power of story. So it can be something simple. It can be you can be talking about trust, maybe an example where somebody let you down, what you learned from that, and connecting that to the topic. And then sort of going at the start, okay, in today's study, we're going to be learning about, or whatever, some kind of introductory sort of statement that connects the story to where you're going and what's the journey you're going to take, so that people are clear. They're like, okay, today we're talking about whatever it is. Make it as clear as possible, and explaining what the Bible says in relation to the topic that you've got to present, using those stories and illustrations to make it clearer. Anything from here sound, is it sounding okay? Is it sounding like this something you could do potentially?
Well, choosing a topic, it'll get easier as the number of studies go along. Like on the first one, you'll have to come up with something interesting for them to get interested about. And then after a few more, you start to know the person, and then that way you can know what kind of topics they would need. Yeah.
And we'll talk about what kind of structure. So we'll look at that probably. This is more just the how and the why. We'll then look at what kind of progression you could cover. Luke, you're there. What are you thinking about? If you had a friend your age, or is this Max? Max, I thought so. Yeah, okay, Max. All right. So if you had a friend, do you think, in a very simple way, do you think that you could come up with like just, any kind of, if I said to you, let's say, talk to someone about how Jesus is your best friend. Do you think that you could come up with a little story about best friends, about who your best friend is, and then talk about some Bible verses that tell us that Jesus is our best friend?
Yep.
Okay. That's really simple. That's really simple. Yeah. So just to give you a heads up. This is going a little bit deeper on the last part, and I put there, the application is the so what, the conclusion is how you bring it to an end, and before making an appeal, there's usually some kind of story or illustration, and then you ask the question. Like I said, when I've talked about Daniel 2, I've sometimes used a story about a girl who had some kind of issue, and then she gave up, her boyfriend gave up his eyesight for her, and what a sacrifice. It's such a sacrifice for somebody to do that for you. Okay, but there's somebody that we know, that I know and love and trust, who made an even bigger sacrifice. He didn't just sacrifice a part of himself, he sacrificed his whole life. And he wants you to be part of his kingdom. His kingdom is the rock kingdom in Daniel 2, and his kingdom is coming soon. Do you want to be part of it? Okay, so notice that I moved from a story to a question. Okay, am I losing you? How are we going? How are we going?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Lot to think about.
A lot to think about. All right. Okay, I'll try and wrap up soon because we are bordering out of time. So very quickly, after prayer, why would you say that you shouldn't stick around for another hour after a Bible study? What might be some reasons?
Because you've said it once before in one of our little lessons. You have fun and then you have the lesson and then you leave it at that, so that they're not remembering the fun, like the drinking and the cookies and the bickies and everything, and they remember the lesson rather than the dinner or so forth.
Yep, that's one very powerful reason. Cherie, you have to unmute yourself.
You don't want to wear your welcome out.
My mum had a good answer.
Oh, so yeah, you don't want to wear your welcome out, but you also don't want to fall into overloading somebody with more information. They'll start asking more questions and then they're going to be overloaded and it's going to be too much.
Yeah.
It leaves them time to process
That's it.
what they have just studied.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
it. They're not distracted from what they've just learnt, and they can go and look it up themselves.
Yes.
So that they can reinforce what you've taught them.
Yes.
As from the Bible.
Yes. I always leave with them something to read on what we've just studied that they will then go over. And then the next week, the first couple of minutes might be, do you have any question from the study or the reading that you did from last week? And then we start there. And then once we're done with that, we make a clean break and go into the next study. So you want to do maybe a couple of minutes of revision to make sure that they've had a week or whatever, a few days to think about it before the next study. You don't want to wear out your welcome. And as Cherie said, if you stay longer, then another Bible study starts up because another question starts and it's again. So there has to be an end.
Letitia, we're assuming that everybody has a Bible.
Yeah. Good question. So you need to, if the person doesn't have a Bible, it's always good to have another Bible with you so that if they don't have one, they can turn to a Bible that you have. So you're right. If they're saying, well, I don't have a Bible, having an extra Bible handy is good. And hopefully you can read from the same translation so that you can give them the page number, because they go, Exodus, where's Exodus? You can say, we're going to Exodus chapter 50, page number 24. And they go, right, page 24. Have you found Genesis chapter 50? It's the big 50. Yep. Have you got that? Yep, I'm on page 24, Genesis 50. What verse is that? Oh, it's a little number 3. Okay. Yeah. So you want to make it as simple as possible for the other.
In that instance,
actually, even having. Sorry, Billy.
In that instance, I would invite them to watch that video that song that you got me on, Letitia, the Bible song.
Yeah.
Even though it's a bit for younger people, but I still listen to it like it was the newest hit on Triple J.
All right, well, we're gonna end up pretty much just in a minute, but these are the questions some of you have asked. If the topic is going to be covered, you can say that's a great question, write it down. We're going to cover that in our next study. If it's a question that's not coming up in a Bible study, you might make time to do a specific Bible study on that topic. What happens if you don't know the answer? I think this was Cherie's question before. If you don't know the answer, you can say, look, that is a really good question. To give you a good answer, can I go away and think about that, do some research and come back to you? And that's honest. You're not assuming the role of the grand expert, but you're just saying, look, I want to be able to give credit to a good question, and I don't want to just give you any answer. I want to be able to research it and come back and give you a proper answer. So that gives you time to think about and to research. and it gives them assurance that you take their questions seriously. And just some resources. That's kind of where we're ending. There are resources. So some of the commentaries that I use, the NIV application commentary, it's a pretty recent one. The Word Biblical Commentary gives you lots of insight into specific words. So you can go deep into what a word means in a Bible passage. Bible Hub, it can give you a little bit of the Greek and the Hebrew. Not saying that you have to do that, but it gives you that. Bible Gateway gives you translation. So that's another website. Some books that give you some insight into the Bible itself, Gospel Warriors, and the Great Controversy series. So the Desire of Ages, Patriarchs and Prophets, Prophets and Kings, all of those.
Steps to Christ.
And Steps to Christ. Yep, all those. Logos Bible software is expensive, but it gives you a lot of information. You can look up any passage and you'll find gems. And some of the Bible study sets I'd recommend are TruthLink by Ty Gibson and The Road by Marcos Torres. I know Marcos personally. He's a pastor in WA, and he developed a series of baptismal studies, which is quite useful to secular people. He had secular young people in mind.
Where would you get the Bible study sets?
Yeah, you can go to the Adventist Book Centre, so ABC or Better Books and Foods, and you can order TruthLink and you can order The Road from there, both sets.
Thank you.
Is that what the ABC shop is?
Yes.
I've seen them heaps, and I thought it was just like learning books for kids.
No, you're thinking of the ABC. There's a shop at the front gates to the college down at Birnbong, Billy.
Yeah. They used to be called the Advent.
It was called the Adventist Book Centre, and that's why it got the ABC. And now it's Better Books and Foods, which makes it the A and B centre.
So
A&F centre.
Sorry for that confusion. All right, any quick comments or thoughts before we finish up? We're on the hour, so I don't want to exhaust you.